back to Truth Be Told. Today, I am Max.
You weren't yesterday?
I was not yesterday. We'll talk about that another time. And Dwight is here with me for all you audio listeners, and thank you for joining us. Today, I think we're talking about friends, and I think you got a verse for us
Yeah, I do. I've
relating to that.
Yeah, I've got a couple of friends. Couple of friends.
Couple of friends. I only have one.
Well, that's a right friend.
Yeah.
So, there are a couple of verses that I thought of in this is one is uh, out of the book of Proverbs, which right now you're going through and has become very personal and profitable to you in your spiritual life. But there is a friend that sticks closer
Mm-hmm.
than a brother.
Yeah.
And Max, that part of it, the spiritual brother, the physical brother you haven't had.
Yeah.
So you're going, yeah, I'm not so sure about that. How close is? Well, I have two brothers.
Yeah.
And growing up, we fought with each other.
Yeah.
But if somebody tackled your brother, you were all in, right?
Well, yeah. And it's funny. There's another verse because I just came across it. A brother is born for a time of adversity. And it's funny, a few years ago reading that, I'm like, okay, so is that more like I'm going to have adversity with him, against him? I think you're going to have all the above. You got both, and that's what you're talking about. You fight with each other, but then if something happens to one of you, you're going to be there. And yeah, like you said, I don't have a brother, but we're talking about this in our men's group.
Yeah.
And specifically, a brother is born for a time of adversity. And I think that, yeah, they're born. They're not necessarily your physical brother, but they're still born. That's what it's talking about. Well, they're a brother born into the brotherhood or within Christ. And I think it's important for us to be that brother to somebody. And also, we need that brother for times in our life that are low, challenging. We've discussed this a lot, and it just helps you go through life because it's very hard to do it alone.
I'll put you on a spot for a minute, Max. And where you quoted scripture, it says, "Brother is born for adversity," and I think where you really see that brother is in the midst of adversity. And can you think of a time in your life where you're going through adversity, you're going through difficulty, and somebody, and it could be a spiritual brother, somebody that's in the family of God, or just somebody that really cared for you as a brother and came alongside of you at that time?
Definitely. Well, I can think of two similar instances, two similar times in my life. One being you, because that a certain period of my life was kind of breaking out of, not breaking away from my parents, but figuring out my own life, my role in in the business, outside of the business, in the family, outside of the family, and also my own family. And that was the key, is figuring out how I transitioned out of that. And because it's easy for me to just go where the path of least resistance, but not necessarily the path that's going to develop me into being who I need to be. And so that was a very critical part of mentorship, you could say. Brotherhood mentorship. And then also Kelsey is another one. Very similar time. And, and this is, it became spiritual, but it didn't start that way. It was more just friends and like brothers people think we're brothers. If we're hanging out together, people think, are you, but like, we just say by choice.
Yeah.
So yes. And it's more so, it was a time in my life where it was more serious. I'm now an adult. There's a lot of expectation pressure on me to forget anything fun.
Yeah.
And just, you're an adult now, you forget about all this stuff. You're not going to do that anymore. I accepted that fact. And so then everything in my life was very serious. Took it seriously. there wasn't a lot of it was just very it was I would say it's a dark time
Mm.
without knowing it, just because I thought I had to. But so he brought a different vibe into my life where it was more you could say emotional, but like there was just a different connection, but also we had a lot of fun together. And it kind of brought that kid back out of me because he's just a big kid
Yeah.
and I love that. And so that I didn't realize I needed, but then, even my wife pointed that out. And it's like, this is a positive. So
I
because it's bringing who you were back out to life, essentially.
I think that, I look at that period of time where you were discovering your own manhood.
That's
Right?
exactly. Yeah.
Who
Mhm.
you are, who God designed you to be,
Yeah.
and enjoying that. And I remember that period of time and what I saw in you, and we too had a lot of laughs about the different areas, but there
Definitely.
was a seriousness about um, who you were becoming and who you wanted to become,
Yes.
and
Definitely.
and wanting to know the other part of that friendship. uh, there's a verse the Pharisees thought the worst insult
Mm,
that they could possibly give to Jesus
yeah.
um, was he's a friend of sinners,
Mhm.
and they thought that that was the worst possible thing that they could say about him, and I've often thought about that in my life.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'm so glad that Jesus is a friend of sinner because I'm a sinner,
Yeah.
right? I'm a sinner saved by grace, but I
Yeah.
still sin,
Yeah.
And Spurgeon said something, who was called the Prince of Preachers. If you go back and read uh, any of his messages, he has a book out that's called John Plowman's Humor, and it's all these funny things that he says,
Right.
but there was a seriousness about him,
Mm,
in his sayings. Um, he talked about that relationship with God, right? That
yeah.
relationship with Jesus, one of his funny sayings was that he would say humorous things in his message, and people were really down on him.
Right.
And he would say, "Yeah, if you knew what I was holding back," he said, "you'd give me far more credit." And but he this relationship that he developed with God,
Mhm.
and that challenge, um, this friend of sinners that
Yeah.
Jesus is, and I think about it, and Spurgeon said, I go back to what he said. He said, if people when they condemn me, if they really knew
Yeah.
what I am inside,
Yeah.
then they wouldn't.
Mhm.
They wouldn't want anything to do with me. But Jesus knows about what's all inside.
Yeah. And he's chosen to be the friend,
Yeah,
regardless of that.
yeah,
And I think that's the most important pieces because it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you've been, what you've done. He will be that friend. Because we all crave that deep down. We all crave that intimacy with somebody that is like we can just be ourselves.
yeah,
We can
absolutely.
be truly ourselves and we don't have to hold anything back and just I just want somebody to accept me for me.
Yeah,
And that's ultimately I think we all wrestle with
yeah,
that.
and
Where whether we're along this journey following Jesus or we haven't even began it.
yeah.
Because and I think when we haven't even began it, we're looking and craving for that, but it's hard to trust anybody in that.
And yeah, you're right. We talked earlier, Max, when we had breakfast together this morning, and about what I'm able to share with people.
Yeah.
And there are people that you'll share with that you say, "Oh, they're my friend,"
Yep.
and they're only gathering information against you
Yeah.
that to use at a further time.
Yeah.
It's kind of that person that betrays you, and you're shocked and dismayed when that happens. But Jesus, the scripture says, "A friend loveth at all
Yeah.
times,"
Yeah. Mm,
and you think about that. They love us when we're on the top of the mountain,
yeah.
and they
Or
love us
when
when we're in the gutter.
totally.
And Jesus does that, and
Yeah.
that's the thing that a friend loveth at all times, and Jesus is a friend of
Mhm.
sinners, and Jesus knows when I'm in the gutter, and actually, and he knows when I'm headed for the gutter.
Yep.
And
Exactly. Yep.
you know,
And when we're in the gutter, all it feels like, we just want somebody to understand what we're going through, because we often, I would say, people telling us, well, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And it's like, they're not really, they're not being a friend. They're trying to be an advisor to tell you why you're in the gutter.
or they have,
Because I stayed out of the gutter by doing this. Well, that's you.
yeah,
And you're just,
and
and it might be valid. Very truly could be valid, but sometimes I think it's we can validate, or we can try to say those things and project them on other people to validate our own decision of going a certain route.
yeah, I think sometimes that they can have their own agenda.
Yes.
They have their own agenda and what they want to do, um, but I think there are times where we don't want, we can't handle
Mm.
what they're saying. We just
That's
want
right.
somebody to be
Be
there,
there. Totally.
right?
Yeah.
And
And I've had this conversation with people. It's like, I just wanna feel loved by somebody,
yeah,
because I can't feel anything right now.
yeah,
And that is ultimately, you just need somebody, and sometimes that is just being there,
right.
feeling willing to walk with them through the valley, because most people won't. They'll be like, "You're there? Sorry, I'm over here, or I'm above here, and I'm not coming down there."
I remember a time in my life where I thought my my life had ended as part, you know, through betrayal, through a Judas in my life. And I remember saying to my wife, "Just hold me.
Mm. Yeah,
I don't want I I don't want words.
yeah,
Just hold me." And it was really that, just be there. And you watch Jesus
yeah.
as you're going through, and you see him coming, and he's sitting at the well for this woman that's coming, and
Mm,
she's she's downcast, she's outcast, she's outside of society, and so she comes, and he's just sitting waiting, and you find Jesus in all of those places, and uh, where we're at the place where we don't even like ourselves,
yeah.
and he's there, and he's that friend, the friend of sinners,
Mhm.
that
Yeah,
that we desperately need.
yeah, definitely, yeah. And he's the ultimate friend, and when we can find other friends that can be that, that's very, very critical in our life, I think, because that can help lead us, and we can see that, if we can see him in them then as well. But if we're that person to somebody in the gutter, or in the valley, if you will, then I believe that they have a better chance of seeing Jesus as well,
Yeah,
and
I,
seeing that because that should be flowing back through us.
I had this strange thought while you were speaking, and I cannot. Jesus never betrayed a friendship.
Exactly. Yeah.
You think about
Hmm.
that. There's not a friendship. Did he speak into their lives, and he challenged Peter,
Yeah. Hmm.
and
Well,
for
and that's
sure,
the thing. I think he challenges everybody,
yes,
and everybody, and certain personality people get different challenges and more direct challenges than others, because because everybody needs something different. But he never gave up on anybody, ever.
and he does, and he didn't betray them.
Yeah,
That's the thing, right? He
yeah.
didn't take that friendship and use it or abuse it, and Jesus is a friend to sinners,
Yeah.
and also that's the kind of a friend that we should be, emulating.
That's exactly, yep,
So
because that can help other, if we crave that when we're in the gutter, if when we're in the gutter, when we're in the gutter, we want that, we crave
yeah,
that, we recognize that. Well, we should just recognize that other people feel the same, because We often think we're the only ones that'll ever experience that, but it's not true.
So,
Just get it all out there.
yeah. So the other, I think, as we wrap up here, I
Yeah,
think that you know, who around you
yeah,
needs you to be that friend,
exactly.
like Jesus was, a friend that loves it all.
Totally. Yeah,
Well,
100%.
thank you for joining us.